So here's the thing. Sometimes you're in a room with another person and they're there in the room and you're talking. And so it's presumed that they're listening because you're talking and they're there. So they must be listening. And I want to tell you that that's not always the case. Just because they're there doesn't mean they're actually listening. And now we're going to go even a little bit further into it. And that is sometimes people are listening in a way that is the opposite of what we're meant to do. I'm going to say it like that. For example, sometimes someone is standing there while you're talking and they're not actually listening. They're just waiting for you to pause so that they can either say what they've already decided they want to say before they've even listened to you, or so that they can make a quick exit, or sometimes they're listening because they're trying to almost like gain evidence for an argument so that they can convince you that they are right and you are wrong, or try to convince you according to their ascriptions. There are many ways that people are seeming to listen, but they're not hearing you. And what I want to speak into with respect to space holding and how we serve is that, okay, I've already asked you one question. Now I'm going to ask another, and I'm going to knit the two together. So how often is it that anybody actually gives you their undivided attention on every level of being in a field of trust and the absence of judgment? Because don't you know when you're being judged? Don't you know without it being said what they're thinking about you? Yeah. So how often is it that someone does that for you? And I want to maybe tell a little story that I don't think I've told it yet. So for somebody to hear you, and I'm going to call it on every level of being, because listen, they hear the words, but they also hear the words you don't say. And when they hear the words that you select, they maybe understand what you really mean by it. Like that type of attunement and attention. And by the way, therefore, connection, presence, availability. So to listen to somebody and to see them in their entirety and to receive them in their entirety in pure time presence, just absolutely right here, right now. There will be no clock watching, right? On every level of being and in the field of trust and the absence of judgment. By the way, that alone is huge, because I want to tell you something. There are things that people hold against themselves. Did we already talk about the 3 layers of forgiveness?
I don't think so. Let's touch on that.
Yeah, that's something that belongs right here, and we can speak into it quickly. And that is that there are 3 layers of forgiveness. And the first one is, it's hard enough to forgive an offense that you've been holding on to for a very long time. So it seems as if there's a perpetrator and someone has caused you harm and it hurts you and you're holding on to it. That alone is hard enough to forgive. But the second layer of forgiveness is self-forgiveness. And I want to tell you that people carry around within them things that they hold against themselves. And that requires a layer of self-forgiveness. And I am going to tell you that in the highest level of forgiveness is the realization that there's nothing to be forgiven, because everybody has come with having chosen something to learn through. And so there is a belief that they basically jump in on a vibrational pattern that will introduce them to the lesson. And it'll be overlaid with the causal field of thought identification and limiting beliefs and agreements made in fear, and therefore patterns that reintroduce the lesson to them over and over in different phases and different contexts. And they all seem unrelated, but they are all actually exactly the same. And so for someone to be able to actually speak out loud something that they actually hold as their, I'm going to call it their deepest, darkest secret, which typically is like their deepest, darkest source of shame, and to see in fact that they're still seen as love, even in the midst of expressing something that they hold against themselves. Like, this is really important.